This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Tiny at Obsessive Tiny on Twitter.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of The Obsessive Viewer. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find back episodes at ovpodcast.com, find the blog at obsessiveviewer.com, and also subscribe to the subreddit at r/obsessiveviewer. And if you're in Indianapolis or coming to Indianapolis for Starbase Indy, we're going to be there. Come see us Sunday, November 29th, the Sunday after Thanksgiving, where we're tentatively scheduled for 10 a.m. for a panel discussing the summer movie season of 2016, a preview of it. The panel will be moderated by Starbase Indy's Mike George, once again, who you can hear moderating last year's panel in OV85. And at noon on that same day, friend of the show, Kate Chaplin, will be recording a live Kate's Take episode on Star Trek The Motion Picture. So a lot of fun stuff planned for Starbase Indy, and come check us out. And you can find more information about them at starbaseindy.com. Tiny, how's it going?
Nice. I'm good. I'm doing good.
Nice,
yeah.
Nice, very nice. Are you excited about this week's episode?
Oh yes, I am. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm a little, I don't know, tired.
Yeah,
because I work 10 days in a row.
That sucks.
But I get the next 4 days off. So
yes, you mentioned that, and we're planning on going to see Creed tomorrow.
Creed, yes,
yeah.
the movie, not the band from the 90s.
Right. Yeah, I
should have been there on a Sunday morning.
I actually had passes to Creed like a week or two ago that I didn't go to, that I invited someone to, and then like they said that is this the movie? Is this the Scott Stapp movie? I think that's his name.
That's his name. Yeah.
The movie about him trying to become a boxer, but then failing miserably because he only fought with arms wide open. I was like, yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I immediately regret sending this text message.
That is beautiful.
But yeah, that was good. But alas, I didn't get a chance to see it, and I'm excited that we're going to be able to see it tomorrow.
Yes.
But this week on the podcast, Tiny,
this week
we're doing our second Netflix Picks episode.
Pick'ems.
Yes, which that is a title that we'll roll with it.
We should have just called it Net Picks.
We should have, yeah.
Yeah. Regret.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been shorter for the episode titles. Anyway, for first-time listeners, Netflix Picks is basically where, to kind of switch things up, me and Tiny have basically given each other a number, and we've watched the title on our Netflix queue that corresponds with that number. This time around, we did 3 numbers. I basically threw out a number, Tiny threw out a number, and then we added those two together and had a third number. We had 3 choices each. Each of us picked what the other one would watch. I picked for Tiny to watch Adam Wingard's The Guest, and Tiny picked for me to watch Richard Linklater's Bernie. And then also I issued a challenge to our listeners that if, or not really a challenge, but if they wanted me to watch either of my one of my other 2 picks, to contact me via Twitter or Facebook or anything. And longtime listener, friend of the show, friend of the hosts, and frequent guest on the podcast, Robert Feckus, tweeted me with compelling me to watch VHS Viral, which...
We all thank him for that.
Yes. Should I just go into my thoughts about it, and then we can ease into that?
Sure.
Okay. So here are my thoughts on VHS Viral, and the reason why I'm not going to be on speaking terms with Robert Feckus anymore. No, it actually wasn't that bad. It was this is the third entry in the VHS franchise, which is a horror franchise that a horror anthology franchise that I like in theory. The first one we actually saw at a midnight screening with Greg. It was a long time ago, and what I'm finding with VHS and VHS 2 and now VHS Viral is that the movies are contingent on good segments. Like, there are bad segments in each one, and there are really good segments in each one. And VHS Viral is no different, but where VHS Viral is different is the frame story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like if you remember, the first movie is the frame story is a bunch of robbers break into a house to get something, and they find all these VHS tapes. So they're watching VHS tapes that are the segments of the movie. And then the second movie is something like basically the same thing, only it's a different. They're not breaking into a house; they're like investigating a house, something like that. But they have VHS tapes. The third one is just off the rails, just crazy, dumb, like nonsensical. It doesn't even have like VHS tapes in the frame story. Here's basically the plot description from IMDb for VHS Viral, which describes the frame story. A Los Angeles police chase sends a fame-obsessed man on a wild ride to save his girlfriend from a cybernetic terror. And, yeah, it's weird. It's like in between each segment, it cuts back to this guy on a bike chasing after this ice cream truck that is being chased by the police. And it's really, did you ever play Twisted Metal, Tiny?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, you remember the ice cream truck thing?
Yeah.
It reminded me of that, which that made me feel happy because I like Twisted Metal.
Yeah,
but
me too.
The rest of the movie did not make me feel happy. But yeah, so anyway,
Interesting.
yeah, so that's the frame story of it. There are like three segments that are aside from the frame story. Yeah, 3 segments. I'll just briefly run through them. The first one is Dante the Great, which the first, one of the first lines is this woman is being interrogated by police, and she's they're like, tell me about yourself, or what do you do, or whatever, and she's like, I'm a magician's assistant. So like right there, you know, like, okay, this is gonna be weird. And it's really stupid. It's like, it's not even like found footage. It's just a faux documentary thing, and it's completely nonsensical with the rest of it. It's about this magician who finds a cape or something and uses it for evil. That's actual magic. It might be demon possessed. I don't know. But anyway, the aesthetic of it kind of felt similar to Chronicle. And to be honest, like the premise would be more interesting as like a feature, like straight to VOD sci-fi movie, but it just doesn't fit here. And it's horrible that this is the first segment because it just did not reel me in at all.
No, that's too bad.
Yeah. Second segment was my favorite. It's from Nacho. I can't remember what his last name is, but he's the guy that directed Time Crimes.
Nice.
Yeah, which one of my favorite time travel movies.
Yeah.
It's called Parallel Monsters, and it's really, like, from the outside, I was like, this is an incredible premise. It's basically this guy creates a portal to an alternate dimension or an alternate reality and an alternate universe, and he basically, as he's peering through it, like, he sees himself on the other side, like the other version of himself. So they're filming each other, and the premise of the short, or the premise of the segment, is that they're exploring each other's universe for 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's such an interesting premise, and I love the idea. But the execution of it is like 3 times more crazy than it needs to be.
Okay.
It's really bizarre and ritualistic, and it's strange. So I wasn't really crazy about it overall, but the concept was amazing, and if this says anything, it's the best part of the movie.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, and the third and final segment, and then we can go on to your first Netflix pick analysis thing, is called Bone Storm, which, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say that this has to be a reference to The Simpsons. There's a famed episode about Bart wanting I think it's called Bone Storm. I didn't do my due diligence, but I think it's called Bone Storm, and it's a video game that's a very violent video game. So this is what the short is, or the segment is about some skaters that are filming themselves doing tricks and stuff, and they're like the most unlikable people you can imagine, like purposely so. Basically, it's like on purpose that they're that unlikable. It's dumb, and so the segment is basically they go to Tijuana to skate on an abandoned park or something like that, and it ends up being like a ritualistic sacred ground kind of thing, and they wake like evil, but it's basically like a first person shooter, like style thing, and it's like it's on purpose. It almost feels like they're trying to make a statement about video game violence and desensitization to violence, because there's a lot of like there are like scenes where like they're one of like they call out the they're so emotionally disconnected, and it's goofy, but they reference characters who have died, like saying like oh, what about camera guy, and what about gas money kid? Like they don't have names. They just it's silly, and I feel like that's a greater statement. But at the end of the day, it was just a video game. It wasn't even really horror. It was just goofy and weird and
sounds dumb.
Yeah. So overall, VHS Viral is just not really worth your time.
So there's only 3 segments in it?
Yeah, and that's the thing that kind of tripped me up, because there's like, I want to say like at least 5 in the other 2.
At least 5, yeah, in the other ones.
Yeah, and it was just like they didn't even try with this one. And
that's
then
rough.
Yeah, and then the way the frame story ends is so confusing and so dumb. It's like it was just such a, I was so ready for it to, it's an hour and 21 minutes, and I was so ready for it to be done.
Yeah.
And then it ended, and I will say that the end credits were actually kind of cool, but other than that, man, it was just not good.
It's a bummer.
Yeah, and I can go on like longer and talk about why I think VHS, the franchise, is failing or has reached this point of diminishing returns so early in its franchise, because I would love it if it was like, if the frame story was cohesive and interconnected between the movies, like if there was some secret cabal of people who collected these tapes and used it for evil and stuff like that. Like if that was like a through line throughout each movie, I could be on board with that. But no, we got an ice cream truck being driven around a city. It's so weird and makes no sense.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I liked the premise to start out with, like the first movie. I liked it a lot, actually. When we saw it at the midnight screening, I thought it was fantastic. But the second one, it kind of lost some luster, but I was still hopeful, and I haven't seen this yet. I might just to see all of them, but it's on Netflix, right?
Yeah, and like I said, it's
of
only
course it is.
right. It's only like it's like 80 minutes, so
Yeah, not a lot of time.
Yeah, it's not a big time commitment.
Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah, it is, and like I said, that is a premise. I love anthology-based stuff. By the way, I haven't been mentioning it because I haven't been able to catch up with it, but check out my side project, Podcast Anthology. It's anthologypod.com. There's info there. Anyway, yeah, so that's VHS Viral.
Right.
So thank you, Fecus, and I encourage everyone to definitely challenge me on these next time we do this and stuff like that. But yeah,
hopefully with better selections.
Yes, I hope so. I may need to go comb through my Netflix queue and like only have the ones that I really want to see on it.
Right.
But that's in the spirit of all of this. And since I talked about VHS, why don't we go ahead and go with your first one, or with your Netflix pick for this week? It's you watched The Guest.
I watched The Guest from 2014, I believe.
That Dan Stevens is so dreamy.
He really is.
Seriously, like
I took to calling him poor man's Ryan Gosling. Because he looks like Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
And he has the perpetual 5 o'clock shadow going, which is so appealing, apparently.
Eyes so blue you can swim in them.
Jesus. Oh my God. But yeah, he's a very dreamy, good looking man. The part where he steps out of the shower shirtless. Oh my God.
Okay, this is
oh my God.
This is a family friendly
whatever
podcast, Tiny.
So yeah, I watched The Guest. If you don't know what The Guest is, it is a thriller / horror movie. It takes place, a soldier shows up at this family's home, and he says that he served with their son who was who died in combat. So he kind of makes that claim and sort of works his way into this family and befriends this family. But then it kind of goes from there, like towards the kind of a stereotypical horror direction. People start dying, and they kind of links to him.
Stuff happens.
Stuff happens.
real quick, what was your relationship with the guest before this? Did you know anything about it going in, or
Nothing other than the synopsis I read on Netflix.
Okay.
I believe Mike mentioned it very briefly in passing.
I tried to do some Googling on the site, and I couldn't find where it was because you type in guest on Obsessive Viewer,
Yeah.
all of our guest episodes, but
Right.
I think I do remember Mike bringing it up at once. If not, I think I was going to bring it up for Potpourri, but I had like too much stuff to talk about, so I think I might have mentioned it like off air. But anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, I think Mike said that he liked it more than he thought he was going to. Mm-hmm. Something like that.
And you also were a dissenter of Your Next.
I was.
Which was Adam Wingard's last movie.
Right. Which that came out in like 2011, I think.
I think so. 2011, 2012.
Right. And so this is 3 years later. I expected there to be more of an improvement, quality-wise, I guess. Because Your Next had that kind of low budget feel to it a little bit, and that's fine. I'm not knocking that at all, especially for a director who's trying to launch themselves and stuff like that. I just wanted to see more of an improvement between those two, between that and this. This felt like a low budget first time director movie to me. I thought it was okay. I was sort of it held my attention the whole time, and I appreciated some of the acting. Dan Stevens, who I don't think I've seen him in anything else really.
Yeah, I think he was in Downton Abbey, I think, but that's all I know him from, and I don't even watch that show.
Yeah, Downton Abbey. He was in The Fifth Estate, which I don't remember him from that at all. But yeah, I actually appreciated his performance in this. I mean, the guy wasn't like award worthy or anything, but he just had this really, really good knack for putting on like this fake smile. Like he was wearing a smirk for a majority of the movie that was very, very villainous and just very, villainous is just the best word. It was just villainous.
Right.
I appreciated it. It was like an old Bond villain wearing a smirk for a majority of the movie. He just kind of knew exactly who he was. So I appreciated that, and the way he delivered his dialogue. He just had this very, very calming voice and a very docile and calm voice. I liked what he did with the character. That was good.
Yeah.
And then the actress, she's the lead actress, Micah Monroe. She's most famous, I think, for It Follows.
Yes.
Which I liked her way more in that. I don't think she had much to work with in this movie. Her character was relatively stereotypical, but I mean, she did some good work with what she had. But she really needed a better script, I think, or her character did. But overall, I just really didn't. I wasn't crazy about. I mean, the story was kind of typical, I guess. A person works his way into a family to exploit it and whatnot. But I felt like there was just absolutely zero motivation in this movie.
Really?
Like, why did this character work his way into this family? I feel like there's no good answer for that. It's like, I mean, the guy ends up being crazy, kind of. He's I don't want to spoil it all or anything.
Right. There was no. You didn't feel like there was just any like logical reason for him to go there in the first place.
Like, what was his ultimate plan?
Right.
I don't know. What was it, to stay there? Was it to become part of the family? Was it to kill all of them? I just don't know. Was it to hide? I really don't. That was never answered, and I don't. It bothered me that the motivation for the lead character just was not clear. The motivation for the conflict was just really, really muddled at best. So that bothered me throughout the movie. There was some interesting work with the music in this. It was kind of out of place. It made me think of It Follows a little bit. I liked the work. I liked what they did in It Follows much better. I felt like it was more of a score in It Follows, and this it was more like just background music that was kind of put in.
Okay.
But it was yeah, but it stuck out to me, and I think it was a bold choice. I don't know how well it worked, but I think it was a bold choice, and I kind of respect that choice. It was very interesting. But and then some of the action scenes just felt very I don't know how to put my finger on it. Just like very low budget, and like I just didn't appreciate the camera work. I don't think it followed the action very well. There's some hand-to-hand combat fighting kind of stuff, and then there's some shootouts and stuff like that. And I just feel like they were captured strangely. They just didn't feel right to me. I don't know. I wish I could put my finger on it. They just had a very glossy feel to them. I don't know. It just didn't feel right to me. A lot of like close-ups and stuff. I don't know. I just feel like they didn't capture the action all that well in the action parts. But yeah, it has a 6.7 on IMDb, which surprised me. I'd probably give it a 5, maybe.
Wow.
A high 4. I wasn't that crazy about it. I'm curious to see Dan Stevens do other things.
Yeah, he was very. He had kind of a not likability, but something like he pulled you in.
Yeah,
so much through it.
I can see him doing some really good work with the right character. He's good on Downton Abbey too. He's kind of unrecognizable between the two roles actually, because he's more of a posh, aristocratic person in Downton Abbey, and he's like a shredded soldier, military guy. And it's very different. But yeah, I'm curious to see what he does. And I think Micah Monroe is like up and coming actress. I hope she is, because she's really good.
Oh yeah.
As well as stunningly beautiful.
Right.
She's really good. I'm curious to see what she does.
Eyes so whatever color they are, you can swim in them. I don't remember.
Yeah, Leland Orser is also in this.
You sent a message like right when you were starting it. I think that was just like, what did you? I can't remember what it was. I think it was either like I fucking love Leland Orser or something like that.
Something like that. He's just so magnetic. Like I love watching him do anything. I'd watch him cut his grass probably. He's just a great actor, and he was drastically underused in this movie.
Yeah.
He had a great scene where he kind of gets drunk with David, the lead character, and just his candor in that scene I appreciated a lot. The way he kind of played being a little buzzed, kind of tipsy, which people screw up a lot. He pulled it off well. It was very subtle.
He's such a, and he's been acting for so long. Like I have just so, and he's in some like iconic movies. He's in Seven, Saving Private Ryan, Alien Resurrection. But he's like in pivotal scenes, and it's like,
and he sticks out in those scenes.
Absolutely,
with like some like heavy hitting famous actors.
Yeah,
he's just a really good actor.
And in all three of those movies I named, he always plays like the troubled, like he's seen some kind of character.
You're right. He usually dies.
Yeah.
In all his roles. Yeah.
Right. If we ever do a character actor episode like we've been talking about for 2.5 years.
Yeah, we have.
We need to make sure we bring him up.
We could probably do 3 character actor episodes.
Yeah.
There's so many good ones out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's one of my favorites, and he was great with what he had in this. I wish they would have used him a little more.
Yeah.
But the movie was okay. I feel like I'm being a little hard on it. I'm curious to see what's the director, Adam Wingard. Yeah. I'm curious to see what he does. I think he has some potential. I wasn't real crazy about You're Next either. Yeah. I probably liked You're Next a little better. So yeah, he's got potential, and there's something he could do there.
It's funny. I wish I would have thought of this before to segue into it, but Adam Wingard actually directed segments for VHS and VHS 2.
Right, he did, yeah.
In VHS, he did The Frame Story, which was kind of a mess. Like, that was like, I remember vividly thinking, this is the first found footage movie where I feel like I'm getting motion sickness because the camera work was just awful. But in the second one, he did one of my favorite segments of that movie was Clinical Trials one or something like that. It's basically it's more not really more sci-fi than horror, but the setup is a guy gets an ocular implant.
I remember that. That was a good one.
And it's all like through that perspective. It was really good, but it kind of, it doesn't bum me out to hear your thoughts on The Guest, but I'm kind of surprised. I liked it a lot more than you, I think.
Really?
Yeah, and I kind of feel like part of what you couldn't connect with, and it's not any fault of yours or anything like that. It's an interesting depiction, or it's an interesting avenue for the movie to take, but it kind of starts as a drama, kind of slowly shifts into a thriller, and then kind of just goes into like action, and then goes into like horror. So it's kind of playing with a lot of different genres and a lot of different feels and tones. And I can definitely see how, like, if someone would get either tired of that, or they just wouldn't be able to connect to it, because there's so many shifts going on that it's hard to pin down an actual like a through line of tone, or like a frame of mind to be in during it. So right. I can understand that. Mm-hmm. I for one really liked it though. I thought that the score was. I agree, it's not as good as It Follows score, but I do agree that it is very reminiscent of that. Mm-hmm. It reminded me of that in retrospect. Mm-hmm. Now that you say it, but yeah, I dug it. I dug it.
Cool. Yeah. To each his own. Yeah.
Agree to let each other have an opinion. I don't know.
Right. Right.
But yeah, so yeah. I didn't get a chance to rewatch it this time around, but I did just watch it at the end of August, so it's
cool,
somewhat fresh in my mind.
I wish I had gotten to see your entry.
Nice
Bernie.
segue.
I really wish I had seen it, but
so Bernie, I'll go ahead and bring it up then.
Mm-hmm.
Bernie is a 2011 movie starring Jack Black, Shirley MacLaine, and Matthew McConaughey, directed by Richard Linklater. It's something that I didn't know about it when I was going in.
I did not know that till just now.
I had no idea. Plot description from IMDb. In small-town Texas, an affable mortician strikes up a friendship with a wealthy widow, though when she starts to become controlling, he goes to great lengths to separate himself from her grasp. This movie got a lot of not like Oscar buzz or anything, I don't think, but it got a lot of like acclaim and like favorable reviews from what I heard on podcasts and stuff, because Jack Black gave a really good performance, and I agree, he did a really fine job.
Yeah,
he does this affectation on his voice that it's a very soft and very like comforting kind of tone. It's like it embodies like a small town, like salt of the earth Texas guy. Mm-hmm. And that was something I had never really seen from Jack Black, and frankly, I didn't think that he had the chops for it. So I was impressed with that.
Nice.
And he gave just a really like low key performance, and that really helped a lot with the flow of the narrative, because he does some surprising things and some interesting things, and the way that he reacts to the fallout of his actions is it stays consistent with his character, and that's something that I appreciated in his performance a lot. But the movie is kind of just okay. It's one of the things that I really didn't like that much was that it takes a kind of a faux documentary kind of feel to it. Like,
oh really?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like basically you know that something happens with Bernie. Like mm-hmm. From the outset that something's off with the guy. Yeah. So throughout the movie they have talking heads of people from the town, okay. Carthage, I think. Carthage, Texas, and it's based on a true story. This all actually happened. I didn't check the validity of or how much artistic license there was, but from the outset, there's like title cards, and like one of the title cards is, I think it says something like "You're fixing to see a true story," and the talking heads really. I had mixed feelings about them. Like on one hand, they came across as they were a bit, it was a bit overboard. Like they did it a lot. And I feel like they were even at times a little cheap as a narrative device. Okay. Cause it felt like they were just like normally, I would have been okay if it was just like, oh, here's this guy talking about Bernie, and here's this guy talking about, the old lady, and here's this person talking about their relationship, and then have that be like our introduction, like forced exposition that way. That would have been okay, but it was it was so overbearing that it felt at times like that was the vehicle for the drama, like to talk about the talking heads instead of showing like Bernie having forming this bond with this widow. It's instead talking heads saying like, oh, they would go to the theater all the time, and they would go do this all the time, and there was question about maybe there was a romantic thing going on, but they only show like montages of this stuff. It doesn't build organically in the narrative, and that kind of just dragged it down for me.
It was kind of expositive.
Yeah, and the overbearingly so, and but on the other hand, the talking heads really just kind of helped accentuate a certain theme. Like I felt like the movie was trying to communicate a kind of a theme of a small community and how gossip rules it, and how people talk about each other and all that stuff. Even under the guise of like a faith-based community, stuff like that, like how they have like, backstabbing things going on. But even that wasn't like fully explored. It was just kind of touched on briefly, and maybe it's me projecting what I wanted out of the movie in those moments as like as a way to say that I wasn't feeling the talking heads, so maybe I would be trying to assign purpose to them. But yeah, and I don't know, in the kind of there's a crucial moment about a certain amount of time into the movie where something happens that shifts the drama of the narrative significantly, and I appreciated the way that it was handled quite a bit, but it also just felt a little too sudden and too like it lacked a certain tension and a certain build up that I felt like it could have packed more power and propelled the movie into the last half a lot stronger if it had been dealt with better instead of just kind of an almost secondhand kind of thing.
I see.
Yeah. So yeah, the fallout of that in the last half or so of the movie was okay, and it held my interest, and it was overall it was just okay. What I'll say about it overall is that it was a good vehicle for Jack Black to show his acting chops and a little bit of his range.
Yeah.
And I say that being someone who's not, I wouldn't say that I don't like Jack Black, but I wouldn't say that I seek out his stuff. I'm not a huge fan of the kind of like wacky guy shtick that he does.
Yeah.
So seeing him in this way was really enjoyable to me. I just wish the movie did more for me.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
that's a little bit disappointing. I thought it looked really good.
Yeah.
Just never got around to seeing it. So I'm not overly familiar with Richard Linklater's work. I've seen some of his movies, but I mean, Boyhood. That's kind of a legendary movie. So, I want to see Bernie. I really need to see it. Yeah,
he also did. Wow, I'm looking at Linklater's filmography now, and there's a lot of stuff that I haven't seen. I mean, I've seen, of course, Boyhood and Dazed and Confused, and I also saw the movie Tape that he did back in 2001 with I want to say it's Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke and one other character or one other actor who they're like basically in a motel room and they have a tape or something, and it's like it's kind of a high concept thing where they're all there. It takes place in real time, and they're all like talking about this tape that they have, and it's about exploring their history, and like there's like a rape involved or something like that from their past, and they're kind of I actually really need to see that again.
That's cool.
Yeah, three old high school friends pass the time in a Michigan motel room dissecting the painful memories of their high school years. So I may have just spoiled a big part of it, but the third person was Robert Sean Leonard from was he in Dead Poets Society, I think.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah. So Linklater is a director who there's so many movies of his that I want to see that I just haven't seen, like Slacker, the Before trilogy. Are you familiar with that, Tiny?
Yeah, with Ethan Hawke. I can't remember the actress's name.
Julie Delpy, I think.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been wanting to see this trilogy for a long time because basically it's like a romantic drama that's set over 3 movies that were filmed, I think, like a decade apart.
Yeah.
So it's basically checking in on these two characters' relationship in like decades, and everything that I've heard about is really interesting. So anyway,
clearly he's a high concept director.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
He also did Bad News Bears, the remake. And he also directed School of Rock. That's interesting. Anyway,
nice.
Yeah, so there's there are several movies of his that I want to see.
Yeah.
That I haven't gotten around to, and his next one is Everybody Wants Some, which is the spirited successor to Dazed and Confused, sort of.
Nice.
It's a group of college baseball players navigate their way through the freedoms and responsibilities of unsupervised adulthood. So So at some point, we should do like a Linklater retrospective.
Totally.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Oh yeah. So anyway, so that's Bernie. It's just okay. I'd probably rate it probably a 6.0
Okay.
out of 10. I would think.
Okay.
Yeah. See it for Jack Black's performance, and try not to get too not caught up, or try not to get too tripped up over the overuse of the like kind of mockumentary or faux documentary format.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
then you might have a better experience than I did.
Okay. Cool.
Whew.
Cool.
Yeah. So that is our Netflix picks, isn't it?
That is.
Holy crap! Yeah. The yeah. So yeah, we'll save that for the end of the episode. So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Congratulations on another Netflix pick episode, Tiny.
Totally.
Yeah, I really like doing these.
It's a fun idea.
It is. I don't know how our listeners feel about them. If you have any thoughts on them, let us know, because I like that, and I liked having the interactivity a little bit. But though I think there was a little bit of short notice, because like Feckus tweeted me about VHS Viral like Monday afternoon.
Oh jeez.
And like we normally record on Mondays, but this week we're recording on Wednesday, so it worked out.
All right.
So, having said all that, why don't we do some potpourri, Tiny?
Let's get it smelling good.
Sweet. All right. So, for first-time listeners, potpourri is the section of the podcast where we talk about anything that we've watched lately, looking forward to, anything that we want, as long as it smells good, is what we call it. And this week I have several things I want to bring up. So, I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to throw out one. I'm going to throw out two, and then Tiny, do you want to give yours? And then Cool. So the first movie that I want to bring up for potpourri is a movie that I watched on Netflix. I was kind of bored, and basically in the spirit of this Netflix pick thing that we've been doing, I just went to my PS3 remote, went to my Netflix queue, pressed the right like arrow for like 15 seconds, and then let go, and then watch whatever movie it came on.
Oh, wow.
And it happened to be a movie that I had no idea was on my queue. I had never heard of it. I had no idea. I had no idea what the hell this movie was. It's 4 Minute Mile.
4 Minute Mile.
Yes. It's it's a movie, and it's kind of funny because
Yeah, it's a movie.
I didn't do the proper research, but I feel like this was like kind of like it's an independent movie. I don't think it had like a wide release or anything. It probably went through festival circuit and stuff like that. But it's directed by Charles Olivier Michaud. I don't know what else he's done, but the cast is Richard Jenkins, this guy Kelly Blatz, Annalee Tipton, who I just talked about last week, Kim Basinger, and one of the dare I say favorite actors of the Obsessive Viewer podcast, Mr. Sir Cam Gigande.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Which me and Tiny have kind of a long running joke about Cam Gigande.
We do.
Yeah, it's silly, but the OC. Anyway. So anyway, the plot for 4 Minute Mile is a former track coach decides to train a student with natural athletic talent. Tragedy strikes, forcing the student to confront everything that has been holding him back. So Kelly Blatz plays the student who Richard Jenkins takes under his wing. And what I noticed from the outset is that this movie doesn't give a lot of info up front, which I'm not opposed to. Having the audience work to figure things out and figure out exposition through dialogue and stuff like that. I actually really welcome that, but this was just such a difficult movie to get a read on early on that I'm just going to chalk it up to poor editing. Like Richard Jenkins' backstory is like kind of unclear and just really kind of unexplored. Like, it's kind of set up that he's got some demons in his past. He's got an injury that he's nursing that from something that happened that really affected him on a personal level. But you don't really get a through line through the character, an arc in that respect from that character. It's just kind of introduced and then that's it. And that was kind of disappointing. I have in my notes that Billy Walsh from Entourage just trying his best. The guy who was the character's name, Billy Walsh, the douchebag director.
Oh God, I hate that guy.
Yeah. What was the movie called? Medellin?
Medellin,
Yeah.
He the actor is Reese Coiro.
There you go. Yeah. Who he's okay. He's an okay guy.
Is he though?
Well, in this movie he was okay.
Okay.
He plays a like a drug dealer guy who is a threat to Cam Gigande, who, by the way, I didn't explain this clearly. Cam Gigande plays the brother of the student who's being mentored by Richard Jenkins, and Cam Gigande is kind of a burnout, kind of a like morally an amoral kind of person. He takes some odd jobs from this drug dealer played by the guy that played Billy Walsh, Reese Corbo.
Reese Coiro.
Reese Coiro,
I think that's
Coiro.
it.
Okay. Anyway, Cam Gigande, his subplot is kind of an important factor of the movie because it's the kid that plays the main character kind of gets roped into his dealings and stuff like that, and it's a danger to him. But the subplot is just really, I don't know. It's like everything else. It's kind of just not really explored that fully. It's probably the most interesting part of the movie, but and it's tense at times. But I think that it kind of hinges on both Cam Gigande and the guy playing the drug dealer. I don't think that they can really, either of them can really pull off intimidating. Particularly Cam Gigande, he's kind of intimidating, but he's not. He's kind of like, he's supposed to be like Big Brother intimidating, because the whole point of the movie is that the brothers, the younger brother has always looked up to his older brother, and his older brother is a burnout, washout kind of guy, and not someone who you should be, looking up to anymore. But he can't because they don't have a father figure in their life, so he's kind of forced to. But anyway, so it was just another thing that bugged me about it was that the mentor relationship between Richard Jenkins and the kid Kelly Blatz, it was like clearly like super heavily influenced by Daniel-san and Mr. Miyagi. And they even reference Karate Kid later in the movie, and I was just like I wrote in my notes, they reference Karate Kid, but that doesn't give them a pass to crib that dynamic.
Yeah.
And it really just comes across as yeah. And so anyway, so to wrap up, also Annalee Tipton is in this movie, and there's a romantic subplot between her and Kelly Blatz that's like just so superfluous and so there's a moment where the main character has an outburst at her. Yeah. And it's like it's so contrived and so let's usher into the last act, and let's have him just scream at her for no real reason.
Dang.
Yeah, but she's fine. I really like her as an actress, and she has nothing to do in this movie, but she's charming anyway. You can believe that someone would be into her in this movie. Also, last thing, tension at the end. The tension mounts at the end, and it's just super awkward. Yeah. So I think someone I can't remember the specifics of who it is, but in my notes I wrote in quotes slugger, because I think it's the drug dealer calls the kid slugger, and it's supposed to be like super intimidating and scary, like hey, back off slugger, but it's like it comes off as like back off slugger. It's really awkward. Jesus. And there's I won't go into specifics for anyone who wants to see it, despite me completely bashing it, but there's the tension mounts into a moment that is really that basically Cam Gigande's character does something that's alarming And so I was really proud. And for context, I live alone. This was me alone in my apartment, so I'm basically patting myself on the back. But I said, more like, damn, Gigande.
Jesus. Oh, man.
Yeah. So I rated probably 4 out of 10.
Wow.
That's 4 Minute Mile, currently streaming on Netflix if you want to see it. It might be already in your queue because apparently I have no memory of adding this at all. So it could be, you never know. It could be on your queue now.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I love me some Cam Gigande.
Me too. We like to rip on him, but
yeah,
he's...
If you've never seen the movie Never Back Down,
yes,
go see it now.
That's the movie I was thinking of.
That movie's hilarious.
Yes.
God, that movie's so funny.
Like, he's always cast in these roles that he's supposed to be like a threatening antagonist.
Yeah.
But he's such like a pretty boy kind of guy. You can't buy it.
Yeah, you kind of just want to like pat him on the shoulder like, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Or tussle his hair.
Yeah, give him a polo shirt and some, I don't know.
Which he got his role in Never Back Down because he's actually trained in mixed martial arts.
Is he really?
So like he's actually a pretty formidable person, I assume.
So we probably shouldn't be talking so much smack about him.
Yeah, I don't think he needs to worry about us.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think he's doing fine.
Yeah.
He has a career and we're podcasting.
He was in Twilight. So he's fine.
Holy crap, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Again, he's supposed to be an intimidating character.
Like, I just wish, like, maybe if he wasn't typecast, maybe if he had other roles, he would be interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but...
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, so Cam Gigande. I have no desire to see 4 Minute Mile.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love Richard Jenkins, too.
Me too. And I really like him a lot. And he's okay in it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And Kim Basinger plays their mom.
Yeah, and she's barely in it. It's like, and that's something that I was thinking about at some point. I think it was when I was watching, I was seeing a movie at Heartland, but I thought like, if I was an actor, I would like my perfect idea of where I would want to be career-wise as an actor, if I were to be an actor, would be I would want to be famous enough to where like low budget, like independent movies would like love to have me on for like a 2-day shoot for like a small cameo. So I would get like second or third billing in it, and it would be like, oh, the Matt Hurt movie that premiered at so-and-so film festival. But I wouldn't want to be like a star or like a struggling actor. Like that's like a good medium area that I would be.
Okay.
I'd like to be. So keep that in mind.
That's a very odd dream.
It is. It's not even a dream because I have no aspirations for acting. But I just think that like level of actor would be most conducive to being a well-adjusted human and not like super sucked into the whole Hollywood mechanism and like super phony and stuff like that.
Right.
So anyway, should I throw it to you?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to talk about The Walking Dead.
Nice.
Again, I feel like I mentioned it like a month ago.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you talked about the premiere, and then,
I did talk about the premiere, but I think this is a good point to bring it back up again because it's been 5 episodes, or so. And I remember mentioning in that episode, I was like, I was very surprised with the strides they were taking as far as this particular story they're going to tell this year or this season with this giant horde of zombies that they're trying to deal with. I was like, this is typically something that they would drag out over a whole season, and it looks like they're going to deal with it in like an episode or 2, and it turns out they've dragged it out for like 5 episodes.
Right.
But I think this season is really showing how the show and everyone involved has grown as creative people. Because I think if this were the second season, it would have been like when they were on the farm, and it was just god awful,
excruciating.
Yeah. I'm glad that they didn't fall into those habits again. Even though they've taken the story and drug it out over 5 or 6 episodes, it's been incredibly compelling every single scene. Nice. I think this is the best season so far.
Very nice.
I'm very pleased with what they're doing. The characters are all expressing a lot of depth and development, which the characters I don't think have ever been bad. I think of all the characters have always developed relatively well, but it just feels very rich this season. I like what's happening with pretty much everyone. It's just incredibly compelling. And they had a successful, like the Morgan episode was a very successful, side story. Those side story episodes can be very hard to do because they upset the flow of the story. But I think it's important when you have good characters to develop them as much as you can.
So you were a fan of it then?
I was a big fan of it.
Nice.
I really I like it when shows do that successfully.
Nice.
Lost comes to mind. They did that very well,
Oh, yeah.
and they did that well all the time. And it kind of felt it felt like a Lost flashback to me.
Nice.
I had the same emotions and the same reactions to the Morgan episode that I did of some of the golden stuff from Lost. So I enjoyed that episode very much. Part of it is bias because we were talking about character actors earlier. One of my favorites is John Carroll Lynch. He is so awesome.
Has he popped? When did he pop up on the season?
He's in the Morgan episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that episode yet. That's awesome.
I love him so much. My favorite scene of his is the movie Zodiac.
Oh yeah.
He is just unbelievably good in that scene, like Oscar good in that scene. I love him in that. But go to anything he's ever done, he's terrific. So I was really pleased to see him in that episode. I thought he was great. I'd maybe like to see him get like a guest actor nomination or something.
Nice.
Probably not going to happen, but again, that's bias because I love him. But so I liked that episode very much, and I love what they've been doing with this story, dealing with this horde, because you're getting different perspectives in each episode. Like they'll have an episode all about how Rick deals with it, and then this most recent episode was about Daryl, and then Abraham and Sasha kind of have to deal with the other part of the horde. It's just we're getting a lot of rich development each episode, and I'm just really liking it a lot. It's just been, I think it's the best season they've had so far.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I can totally agree with you. I mean, I've only seen the first 3 episodes, and man, what strikes me most about those 3 episodes is that it feels like this whole thing with the horde and everything like that. Like even from the beginning, where you see like they've been like you're shown that they're about to do a test run of the plan, but then it all goes to hell, and they have to improvise and everything. Like that feels like the beginning of a season finale.
It does.
And everything else feels like season finale and everything. And I just love that they started it at that moment.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's the 6th season. They can't.
Right.
How can they keep it fresh? And what's even more ballsy about that is like this is when they're like they've barely been in Alexandria, so it's like they could have easily done another farm storyline where they're like interacting with all the people, introducing all the new characters.
There's all this silly philosophy going on. Yeah,
but they just kind of just went for it, and I appreciate that.
Which there is a lot of philosophy going on, but it's amidst action,
right?
And there's stuff happening. It's not just talking and exposition. It's well done. And again, this is just my opinion. There may be other people who feel differently, but I'm very impressed that a show is peaking during its 6th season, or it's at its best so far in the 6th season. I'm impressed with that. Yeah. Again, just my opinion, but I think they're doing a great job.
And they announced who they cast as a big pivotal character. Yeah. And
nice. I don't want to know.
I'm not gonna tell you.
Is it someone noteworthy? Like
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't tell you who it is. I won't even tell you anything about the character. I'm sure you already know, but from reading the comics and hearing that, I'm like that. Yeah. That's totally a great casting decision.
Nice. Is he going to show up this season? Do you know?
Yes.
Nice.
I won't say when, but I know when, but I won't say when.
I know that Kevin Durand was offered the role, right?
He was, but he didn't. It's not him.
Yeah, I know he didn't take it, but
which would have been interesting. But actually, honestly, I think that this casting is better.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just visually, it seems like a better fit.
Nice.
To the appearance of the character, at least. But
I'm a big fan of Kevin Durand doing anything.
Right.
Because he's again an awesome actor.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. One thing that I wasn't too keen on this season of The Walking Dead, though, so far from the 3 episodes I saw, was that something that was really interesting in the comics, at least when they got to Alexandria, is that they're interacting with people who don't know, like they're not as well trained in the zombie apocalypse as they
Right.
are. Obviously, they're not seasoned professionals at zombie killing and all that. And that's a good dynamic to have, but in the show, I don't think it really translates that well, because it's like, in the comics, it's like, oh, you're stressed because, you know, these other characters don't know what's going on or don't know how to handle themselves or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But in the show, it's like just shut up and shoot the damn thing, or just kill the zombie. Like, it's kind of frustrating. It's frustrating in a negative way, but that's a minor complaint. I need to catch up, but yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, so do you mind if I go on to my next one?
Absolutely.
All right, well...
no, I mean, I mind.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for listening, guys. And my next potpourri is Room.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Oh, I want to see this so bad.
Oh my god, I should have let you know that I was going to go. Sorry.
Thanks. No, I'm busy all the time.
Yeah, I got a chance to check out Room at the Keystone Art Theater here in Indianapolis. Room, for those who don't know, is the adaptation of Emma Donohue's novel of the same name, which is about the IMDb trivia or the IMDb plot summary is a little. I wouldn't say this counts as spoilery, but basically it's a mother and her 5-year-old son are being held captive in a shed.
Okay.
And so basically the kid's entire life, like the mother has been there for years, and the kid's entire world and entire life has been living in that shed,
Right.
which he calls Room. And so the thing about the book is that I believe the book is told entirely from his perspective.
Oh, wow.
So it's like old Nick, their captor, I think that's his name, Nick. The captor, it's like from his perspective, it's like he can get anything for what they call Special Treat Sunday, which is like the day of the week where the guy brings them supplies to live off of.
Oh.
But he's like, he's magical and he can bring anything, like that kind of like he's has a very skewed perspective of the world and everything.
Right.
So the movie is just, it's so incredible.
Nice.
Like I can't. There were numerous moments where I teared up, and it's like this could be my movie of the year.
Nice.
Like seriously.
Wow.
Yeah. It's so just devastating, and like if nothing else, like Brie Larson plays the mother. She has Best Actress locked.
Nice.
Like, and it's so incredible because there are moments where she's talking to her son. She's talking to Jack, the character, played by Jacob Tremblay, who just like best actor, best supporting actor,
Really?
something like they just powerhouse performances.
Wow.
And like there are moments where she's like struggling so hard to give him a normal life in these horrific circumstances, and it's so like the dynamic between the two characters is just so astounding and so emotionally like gut wrenching. It's like it's so like there are moments where she is trying to communicate something to him or trying to spin something. You can you can see how defeated and broken she is while she's trying to give Jack as normal a life as she can. So like, and you can see how he doesn't, he's 5 years old, so he can't grasp like the emotional like weight of what's going on because he's just a kid. So like
Right.
he screams about not having candles on his birthday cake, and she's like you can see the devastation in her face, and and you can see not only the devastation but also like it's so amazing how much effort was put into her performance by Brie Larson, because you can see the devastation of that, and then also on the other hand you can see just how just absolutely just defeated and destroyed she is as a person,
Yeah.
just from being like in that situation, because there are like some very dark moments that happen, and then also you just see how she's just trying to close it off and just be a mother to him and try to make sure that he's not aware of what's going on, or trying to preserve like his innocence
Yeah.
and everything. And it's just I mean, I could rave so much about this movie.
Yeah.
And I would probably end up just getting teary eyed just talking about it. But it's absolutely magnificent. And what I also loved about it was like the movie alternates between the kid's perspective of the captor and her perspective of what's going on. Basically, the entire situation. It's in a visual medium, it's really hard to do that, to communicate that, because in a book, it's and it's worth mentioning that Emma Donoghue also adapted the book wrote the script.
Oh, great! That's nice.
Yeah, so you have that also, which is one of the reasons why I think like Gone Girl was so good, was that Gillian Flynn adapted her book to the screenplay, and I feel like that's the same way here. I haven't read the book, but I want to, but yeah, so. The way that it alternates between the two perspectives of it is just, it's communicated so well, and it's so just really powerful and really just heart-wrenching. It's, I don't know. There's a couple of things like the one thing in particular that didn't really work. Not that it didn't really work for me. It's basically something is set up, and I'm being as vague as possible, but there's something that's set up in kind of a weird way that it wasn't communicated that well to me. Like, why? It doesn't communicate its point that well, and it just left me thinking that it was going to be revisited later, but it just never was. So, other than that, though, just incredible movie. Super moving. Just really, just powerful stuff. That's Room. I think it has a wider release here in a week or two.
Okay.
But right now, if you're in Indianapolis, it's still playing at Keystone Arts, so
okay,
definitely recommend checking that out.
I am really glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Brie Larson, I've been a fan of for a couple of years. She's kind of famous. Her more famous roles are maybe the movies that weren't as great, I guess. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and she was in Trainwreck most recently.
That's right.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I think her small independent performances aren't as well recognized, and I thought she really shined in those. So
yeah. I'm
glad to hear that she was like Oscar worthy.
Oh yeah, and it helps. It's nice that she's doing so. Like, this is going to be. I firmly believe this could be like a star making role for her. Like, she could totally. Like, I'm so impressed by her performance, and like, I really hope that she gets the Oscar for it. Basically, I hope that. But I'm really anxious to see what she does afterwards, because she's going to get tons of acclaim, tons of recognition for this. I'm really hoping that it opens up some really interesting choices for her for projects in the future, because her episode of The Nerdist, actually, from like a few years ago, I think. I mean, that was one of the only episodes of The Nerdist that I listened to twice within like a week, because like, she was amazing. It was like. It was so cool. Like, she seems like the coolest person on the planet, and she seems like just super funny and very well, just very well spoken about her passion and everything. It's like I remember hearing that and thinking like, she's gonna go places. Like, she's gonna be just huge, and I'm really hoping that this is the first step toward that.
Wow, nice.
Whew,
I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
The movie looks awesome.
Oh yeah,
it looked great.
I'd probably put it at 9.5 out of 10.
Nice.
Yeah, and I say like I'm so stingy with 10s out of 10. So like, that's about as close to 10 as I can get.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Whew. Yeah. I have one more. Did you want to switch to you for a second?
Yeah, there was something I kind of wanted to bring up. You and I spoke about it briefly earlier, but the show The Bastard Executioner was canceled.
Right.
And it was canceled in a very interesting fashion. Kurt Sutter, who's the showrunner, creator of that and more famously Sons of Anarchy, he announced the cancellation of the show through an ad in what was the publication?
I think it was the Hollywood Reporter.
The Hollywood Reporter.
I think.
He took out an ad and put it in there basically, which, having learned a lot, or like having followed his career a lot and sort of having a feel for the kind of person he is, that's not a surprise at all.
Right.
He has a very... The nicest way I can say it is he has a very abrasive personality.
Right.
He's a very outspoken, opinionated, and kind of a shameless person. He'll just say whatever he's thinking, and he's eager to share his opinion. And so it's not a surprise that he did something like this in such a unique fashion. But I think what's more noteworthy is his entire attitude about the situation, because he basically made the decision to cancel the show. Because Kurt Sutter's been a bit of a gold mine for FX.
Right.
Sons of Anarchy was incredibly popular, and The Shield was also very good, which he ran that show for like 6 years. Or he was the head writer on The Shield.
No, he was part of the writing staff.
Oh, I thought he like ran the show, or
No.
I thought he was like head writer or something.
No, showrunner was Sean Ryan.
Right, I know Sean Ryan, but I thought
I think I don't think he had any seniority in the writing staff. I think he's
okay. Well, I know he was very involved with The Shield. I'll put it that way.
Right.
And so he has a very good relationship with FX. He has like a 8-figure contract with them for like 10 years or something like that. So he's very good friends with the head of FX. His name escapes me at the moment.
John Landgraf.
John
Landgraf.
Landgraf. That sounds right. Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
So they're like personal friends, and they have a good working relationship. And basically, John Landgraf told him, "So, what do you want to do?" Basically, when they had all the numbers, and he was like, most shows would try to eke out as much as they could and wait till May for the sweeps and stuff. But Sutter was like, you know what? Nobody's watching it. Screw it. And he was just like, let's just cancel it. And I think the reason he did it was, obviously, like he even admitted there's a little bit of ego to it. He's like, I want to have an audience. I want to make things that people watch. But at the same time, he also said he didn't want to string along a whole team of actors and set designers and costume and makeup people and make them think that they're going to have a job come May, but then it ends up getting canceled. I'm very respectful of the way he chose to do things, and he's not holding anyone accountable except himself. He's just like, maybe just the story wasn't there, and that's why people didn't watch it, and their viewership fell off every week consistently. I just really appreciated his attitude towards the whole thing, which is surprising because typically I don't appreciate his attitude that much.
I think that's what's so off-putting to me about him. That's why, like when you brought up the pilot a while ago on the podcast, you mentioned that he's my favorite showrunner, like saying that he's Matt Hurt's favorite showrunner.
Yeah.
You said it sarcastically because I don't like the guy. I don't like Sons of Anarchy, and I don't really like his personality and everything.
Yeah.
But having said that, I do respect him for this, the way that he handled this and everything.
Yeah. So I just thought that was noteworthy. The fact that the guy's just he kind of cut his losses, or it seems like maybe he cut his losses, but I think it was a good decision to make, and like I said, I think he did it for the right reasons, and I was pretty surprised at how business centric he kind of thinks. It's as opposed to artistically, which maybe that's not really a good thing for an artist. But it was just his attitude towards it was all just very surprising to me and just very unique, and I think it's something you don't hear about very often. Typically when a show gets canceled, it's like forced onto all the creative people, and it's like, man, we wanted to do another season, but we just couldn't. It was the network. It was the a-holes at the network who took it away from us, and our numbers weren't that bad. But he was like, no, the numbers were bad. People weren't watching it, so it was just a very, very interesting cancellation.
It's like, it was our decision to make the last season of Boardwalk Empire super short and everything. Clearly not the case. But, and like I said, I can respect him for that. And from your review of the pilot on the podcast, it wasn't something that I was interested in anyway. So.
Yeah, I didn't like it. Basically, it wasn't that great, if you ask me. So who knows where it could have gone? But
And who knows? Maybe I'm planning on seeing Southpaw at some point before the end of the year. So I don't know how he did with that, but I know he wrote that. So kind of maybe I can get a respect for him. He is responsible for some of my favorite, or at least in that first season, he was responsible for some of the more like disturbing moments in The Shield in the first season. So
an interesting piece of news.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So I'm about to say to round us out, but I think I have two other things I'm going to throw out here just as news pieces. But first, I want to talk about Master of None. Have you been? Do you know anything about this?
Nothing.
Master of None.
Oh wait, is that the Aziz Ansari's?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Is the latest? It's a Netflix original series by Aziz Ansari, starring Aziz Ansari. The plot is it's about the personal and professional life of Dev, a 30-year-old actor in New York, played by Aziz Ansari. A couple of quick notes about it. Aziz cast his own parents in the show.
Wow.
As his parents in the show, and it's they're not the best actors, but it's effective. It's really interesting. Like they have good chemistry and everything. The show was, I believe, the show that they Aziz Ansari and Harris Whittles were like about to move to, I think, LA to produce and everything right before Harris Whittles passed away tragically. So it was nice to see Harris Whittles getting like co-executive producer credits and story credits and stuff like that.
That's good.
It's also worth mentioning that our friends at the Nerds You're Looking For reviewed the season on their show last week, so check that out.
Cool.
So anyway, the show stars Aziz Ansari, Noel Wells, Eric Wareheim from Tim and Eric.
Okay.
Several other people, but basically it's 10 half-hour episodes. It kind of takes a not sitcom, but it's an interesting drama comedy about the main character's life. Some episodes focus on his professional life and him struggling as an actor and struggling with there's one episode in particular called Indians on TV, where it's all about how he's forced to, or how he's asked to do these really stereotypical Indian like stereotypical roles and stuff, and it's really interesting. Like that episode starts with like a montage of all of the like just a deluge of Indian stereotypes on television, like just a montage of different shows in the real world of just stereotypes, and it's a good episode. But my favorite episode, because okay, I'm all over the place. So episodes depict his professional life, and then also his personal relationships with like his friends and his family, and then also his romantic relationships, and those are the ones that I gravitated to the most. In particular, there's a couple episodes. One is episode 3, which I joked to some of my friends that I'm in a Google Hangouts chat with that like if I were on like an online dating site or whatever and it said like self summary, I'd be like, I would just write, watch episode 3 of Master of None. You'll get the gist.
Nice.
It's all about, basically it's called Hot Ticket, and it's an incredible 30 minutes of television, in my opinion. Basically, Aziz's character has a ticket to a secret show, and he's struggling with finding a date to take on it. So he asks out a very attractive waitress, and there's a moment where he asks for the number, saying like, "Hey, I have this ticket," and she's like, "Yeah, I'll let you know my schedule and all that." And he's like, "Yeah, can I get your number?" And then there's a moment where at the end of it, he says a line that I'm like, "That's me." Because he says, "Well, I guess this is the end of this interaction."
Oh my god.
And it's what the episode does from there is it's a very interesting deconstruction of modern dating, basically. A lot of it, and it makes me want to read his book called Modern Romance, which is apparently all about how dating has changed in the modern era and everything. It's very scientific and everything like that. Not like a just standard stand-up comedy book or anything.
Right.
But so anyway, so that episode stuck out. There was also an episode that terrified me to my core. Because it's later in the season, so I won't give away what it is, but it's called, I think it's just called Mornings. And it's basically depicts a long span of time where he and his girlfriend, basically every scene takes place in the morning and over a long span of time. And it shows it's such an incredibly written episode of just showing their relationship and the highs and lows and the struggles and the triumphs and all of that. And I was like, this is magnificent.
Yeah.
Like, this is absolutely astounding.
Nice.
And I loved it. And what I will say is that sometimes the episodes, it being that format where every episode kind of takes a different piece of his life and focuses on it, that was a little bit not jarring, but it was a little bit like it was a little
disjointed
maybe. Yeah. Okay. It was kind of like oh, okay, well, there's this really insightful, powerful episode about his trip to Nashville with a girl, which is another really great episode. Like the chemistry between him and his romantic interests in the show. Just like the writing is incredible. Like there's the episode where they go where he and a love interest go to Nashville for a weekend. It's just called Nashville. I remember thinking, like, I had a feeling that, like, this is like midway through the season, so drama's gonna unfold and everything, but the writing between those two characters was so perfect, so beautiful, that I just wanted to stop in the middle of it and just pretend that, okay, this is the end of the series. This is they lived happily ever after. Everything is okay.
Yeah.
This is the moment where the series ends, and everything. And I won't spoil whether or not anything happened to those characters or anything like that. But that's just like in the moment of that episode, I was like, I know that going forward, whether it's this season, next season, whenever, there's going to be hardships in his life and everything like that. But that moment, that episode where it just shows those two characters interacting with each other on a weekend and enjoying each other's company was just so beautiful that, like, I just wanted to end there.
Yeah.
I just didn't need any of the drama or anything that was coming. It was just, I really, really liked it. It has some really interesting things to say about dating and about relationships of all kinds. And, I just really liked it. That's Master of None. It's currently on Netflix. It's a Netflix exclusive. And,
How many episodes is the first season?
10.
10. Okay. It's half hour.
Half hour. It's really quick to go through. Like I told our friend Molly, I was like, yeah, I finished Master of None. And she was like, everyone I know had watched it in a day. You watched it in like a week. I was like, it was like 3 days. I took like 3 days. I've been busy.
I'm going to watch it.
Nice.
Based on what that sounds
Yes.
really, I like Aziz Ansari. So,
yeah. And that's the thing. Like, he's not like, he's not like the Aziz Ansari, from like Parks and Rec. Or he's not like the big personality Aziz Ansari.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that throughout it, but it's not like, he's not like, I'm trying to think of I'm trying to think of the line from Parks and Rec, but he's not like cheeky French fries. I don't know the actual line, but the episode where he's like spouting off nicknames for food in it. But anyway, he's not like that big personality kind of person, like party guy. He's a very down to earth, kind of low key kind of version of Aziz Ansari, and also I know nothing about him personally. I'm not friends with him on any level, but I know that he is a huge like foodie in general. So like if you like when I hear podcasts that talk about comics and talk about traveling in cities and stuff, like I hear like Chris Hardwick always saying, like, if you're ever in any city and have Aziz Ansari's phone number, text him and say like, hey, what's a good place to eat in Indianapolis, and he'll text you back with a list of places to go.
Yeah.
And what I thought was funny was that there's a point in the season where one of his romantic interests is a the setup of the episode. I don't remember which episode it is. I do remember, but I'm not going to give it away. He meets a woman, and she's like the perfect woman for him. And like I was thinking, like, okay, she is a super cool woman who is a food critic. And so I'm like, is this the idealized version of Aziz Ansari's dream woman here? Because it seems like it seems a little honest to something that like he would inject into the show. Just being a food fan, basically.
Right.
So that's Master of None. Fantastic first season. I really, really liked it, and it made me feel feelings.
Very nice.
Yeah. That wraps us up for Potpourri. I have a couple things I was going to bring up, but I don't know. I'll throw it out here. Hashtag AllMyMovies. Did you hear about this?
No.
The Shia LaBeouf thing?
Oh, I heard about it, but I have not looked into it at all.
I looked into it a little bit. I love all the gifts that come from it.
Yeah.
Basically, Shia LaBeouf, for some reason, watched every movie that he was in reverse chronological order in a theater in New York, and like it was free admittance to people.
Wow.
So and there was like a camera trained on him throughout the entire thing. So there's footage of him just watching himself, and like there's gifs that have come through it that's just him like falling asleep or him reacting to things. And it's so goofy.
Did you do it all in a row, like in one sitting?
I don't know. I think so. I think that it was completely consecutive, or I might have been. I don't know that. I don't know if there was any breaks or anything, but yeah, it was just
Wow.
He's such a weird guy.
He's really weird.
Yeah, but all the gifts are really funny, and
that's great.
That's something that I would want to do if I was in that. If I had that like level of whatever.
Yeah.
And then the final thing I was going to bring up is I'm looking it up now. Oh yeah, this is not really worth mentioning that much because I haven't even watched this show in a long time. But E Entertainment announced that they are ending The Soup.
Oh really?
Yeah, after 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's cool because Joel McHale, who's still the host of it, he tweeted out that he's thankful for it, all that stuff. And he said that he's looking forward to focusing on his acting.
Oh, okay.
Which honestly, man, I'm so surprised that he stuck it out this long.
Yeah, really.
I honestly, I wonder if there's a contract thing going on or whatever, but I honestly feel like I'm surprised he didn't do this around like the time The Informant came out.
Yeah.
Because I think that he's phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does with more time.
Me too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's that. And before we go, Tiny.
Yeah.
We're gonna do something fun.
We are.
Okay. So in terms of he's holding the bag.
God.
So basically, like I said, I've really enjoyed doing these Netflix picks episodes. So having so much downtime at work, I had the idea that as an experiment, and we'll see how it goes this week and maybe next week and stuff like that. But I fully intend to make this a project for 2016. That every episode Tiny will pick out of a bag of assorted little pieces of paper that have a streaming service name on it and a number. Sometimes two streaming services names, so we can pick, but in a number range. So like Amazon 1 through 30.
Right.
Because to preface this, I have Amazon Prime instant streaming, HBO Go, Netflix, and Hulu. So some of these numbers, some of these sheets of paper have Netflix 1 through 80, Netflix 200 to 230, stuff like ranges like that. So basically, Tiny's going to pick a sheet of paper out of it. He's going to pick a number that's within the range, and then I'm going to look up what it is, and that'll be my potpourri for the next week's episode.
Okay.
So, what have we got here? Tiny's opening the bag.
Let me shuffle these around just a smidge. Yes. This is so sad.
It's so an audio podcast.
Okay. I've picked one. Uh-oh. I picked Netflix.
Okay.
401 to 409. You have 409 things?
I did as of 2 days ago.
Holy
before
balls.
I added like 10 more things.
Jeez. I don't know if I have 409, but I might.
Yeah, it's so easy. And I gave you so much crap, or I like to give you a hard time about so many documentaries on your cues and stuff. But honestly, today, like I'm not BSing you right now. Today, on, like, during the day, I went through Hulu. I went through all their documentaries. I added, like, 60.
Nice.
Like legitimately 60 documentaries to my my Hulu queue.
Wow.
My Hugh queue. My Qulu.
Hugh.
My Qulu. My
Qulu. I like
my
it.
Qulu, yes.
I like it.
All right, so 401 to 409. What do we got?
I'm going to go with 408.
408. Oh, interesting.
Yeah?
Yes, it is 1997's Amistad.
Oh, that's a feel-good movie.
It is, yeah. Movie I've never seen, so I'm really looking forward to this. I love Spielberg, so yeah. Oh man, this could be interesting because I also really want to see Bridge of Spies, and maybe that'll be a double feature or double up potpourri next week.
Yeah,
is Bridge of Spies and Amistad.
I have an interesting anecdote about Amistad,
Really?
borderline funny.
Okay.
So I've never seen the movie, but when I was in college, when I was at college at Ball State, I was in a history class. I was going to be a history major, and I was in American history class, and it was the last class that I had before going home for Thanksgiving break.
Okay.
And so I was like super excited. I was so ready to go home, and I was like, my parents were coming to pick me up right after class, and for some, I guess just by chance, that ended up being the class that he talked about, like, slavery in the United States.
Oh.
And he showed clips from Amistad.
Okay.
Of slaves being shipped to the United States on the ships and stuff, and it is very disturbing footage and very graphic and really hard to watch stuff.
I'm really curious when this gets funny.
And it just like ruined my attitude because I was like, man, I was in such a good mood, and
oh, that's awesome.
I was really excited for turkey tomorrow, and now I had to watch this.
Wow.
I feel so guilty right now.
Wow.
It was just like, it was, I'm not doing it justice, but it was just like, it was a complete 180 of my attitude.
Jeez.
So I'm really anxious to see. I've never seen it either all the way through. I've just seen those clips, but they were very graphic and very well done.
Nice. For those not in the know, it's the 1997 Steven Spielberg movie about the 1839 revolt aboard Spanish slave ship La Amistad and the uprising's tragic aftermath, starring Morgan Freeman, Nigel Hawthorne, and Anthony Hopkins.
Yep.
Yeah, so, 7.2 rating on IMDb, 75% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, 79% of whatever this icon is. Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, it's good. We'll see.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. And let us know what you think of this thing and all that. Sometimes Tiny will participate, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I will participate when I can.
Yes. And this is just a way for me to clear out all the stuff that I have sitting on my queue. So
nice.
Amistad, that's gonna be good. So
cool.
Yeah. So as we close out, what are we talking about next week? Did we decide?
I think we're talking about food documentaries.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which
it's gonna be fun.
I'm a sucker for a documentary.
Right?
So yeah.
I'm a sucker for food. So. No, it's gonna be fun. There's gonna be a lot. Like I made a list of some ones that I want to check out. Like
nice.
there's like a 30-minute one on I think Hulu or Amazon called Sriracha. Just
nice.
about Sriracha, the hot sauce. So
cool.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting.
Yepers.
So all right, so join us next week for food documentaries and Amistad and maybe Bridge of Spies and maybe whatever Tiny brings up for Potpourri.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, Creed. We'll probably also talk about Creed.
Totally.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. So that about does it for this week's episode. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
I think you're confusing him with Steven Soderbergh, maybe?
Oh, am I confusing him with Soderbergh?
Yeah, he didn't do Contagion either. You might be... Hang on.
I am thinking of Steven Soderbergh.
Ah.
Son of a bee.
Well, I'm going to keep all this in.
So screw Richard Linklater. He sucks. I don't know who that guy is. No, I was absolutely confusing him with Soderbergh.
Yeah, Steven Soderbergh, yeah.
I need sleep.
Do you want me to keep this in or
No.
cut it out? No, cut it out.
Cut it out.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to The Obsessive Viewer, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. You can find more of our episodes at ovpodcast.com and you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, or your preferred podcast app. The Obsessive Viewer's theme song is An Eclipse of Events and is provided by Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. You can find that and more great music from them on iTunes and like their Facebook page at facebook.com/loudlikemusic. Any and all feedback on the podcast is encouraged. You can email the hosts individually at Matt, Tiny, or Mike at obsessiveviewer.com or send an email to the podcast in general at podcast@obsessiveviewer.com. Check out the Obsessive Viewer blog at obsessiveviewer.com, where we post movie and TV reviews and the occasional editorial about the business of entertainment. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer and follow us on Twitter at obsessiveviewer, at obsessivetiny, and at IamMikeWhite. If you want more obsessive content in your life, check out our sister site, obsessivebooknerd.com, for book reviews, author spotlights, and a general celebration of reading. Finally, if you're philosophically curious, check out Tiny's side project podcast, The Secular Perspective, which explores the concepts of faith, religion, and existence from the perspective of secular hosts. You can find that at thesecularperspective.com and subscribe to the podcast on the podcatcher of your choice. Again, thank you so much for listening. We love you. Be excellent to each other.